Guys, join CryptoNerds now before it's too late. You're missing out on so much crypto news and calls and projects and everything. Check us out for free, link in the description.
First, I'm going to play this clip. It's talking about bank collapses and this and that, and then we got a CBDC clip, and then a clip about something very big happening.
But they will send out an announcement. So get ready for this. They admit they will send out an announcement, and they will tell us not to use money. This is how that's going to go down. They tell us that they plan on telling us on a Friday night. See if you can guess why they would tell us on a Friday night
Banks
that
are
the banking
closed.
system has collapsed.
There are a lot of things we've been thinking about, and what we want to hear from you today is what you think the priorities would be in order to go about setting expectations appropriately in public about how we would execute Title II, so that if and when we do have to have that announcement on Friday night, ideally Friday night, that people are in a position to receive it, understand it, and say, yeah, that works, and we can see how this will happen. Of course, there will be doubters, but there's a lot of things going on.
So Friday night, of course, and the banking system is closed. So people all weekend can just be at home freaking out because, oh, wait a minute, I just lost, what's going to happen with my money?
Yeah.
My bank's going, we're in this economic, what the hell are you going to do about my money? It's gone. They're admitting, like,
All right, so then we have Glenn Beck. I don't agree with everything Glenn Beck says, but he's spot on in some of the things that he says in this clip, so fuck it, let's play it.
People think what you think because you're getting the garbage from television. What you think is coming is a recession. What your crazy friends might say to you is coming is maybe a depression. You'd be mistaken. Those are lies. What is coming is a collapse of the dollar. You haven't had one of those. We've never experienced the collapse of the dollar, of the world's reserve currency. This will make us Venezuela. Make no...
I don't agree with that point personally, but I'm going to play the full clip and then we're going to talk about it, me and you.
mistake. If you want to be prepared, prepare yourself like people should have prepared in Venezuela. Soon, I don't know when, but it will happen overnight. Soon, everything will be collapsing and the banks will close and there will be chaos. And everyone on radio and television and the internet will be telling you we have to do central banks. We have to do digital currency from the central. Do not believe that. The collapse is caused by the idiocy of the people who are now telling you, A, we're fine, it's stable, and B, that's a conspiracy theory that we're doing a central bank digital currency. They're lying to you, and they're the ones who caused it.
Okay, so he's talking about bankers, right? The Fed, the Treasury, and the world. CBDCs are coming. 95% of countries are working on CBDCs. Basically, you have companies like Ripple, like Stellar that have built already plug-and-play APIs for these central banks where they don't even have to load any code or anything like that. They have an API they can interface with. They can use a private sidechain, something like that on XRPL. Or Ukraine is, their CBDC is working with Stellar, so that's going to go with Stellar. But CBDCs, I think, are their answer for the banking failures right now. We were talking about this months ago in CryptoNerds, right? I said we're going to have a liquidity crisis in 2023. This is going to happen. You want to look at gold, you want to look at silver, and you want to look at crypto, right? Certain crypto assets, right? There's 23,000 crypto assets. Do you think all 23,000 of them have use cases and utility in the real world and are run by legitimate actors in the space? No. You probably have 1, maybe 2% of total projects that are legitimate. It might even be less than that, guys, because honestly, there's a lot of just shit and garbage out there. And if you are buying into something, right, and this is never financial advice, this is me just talking to you as a friend, but if you're going to buy into something, some questions should be asked. What is the utility here? What problems is this solving? What is the background of the team? What are their partnerships? What have they been able to do these last 5 years, 6 years, 1 year, whatever the time frame is? If you start to look at all of that information and you can answer all of those questions, and you actually have solid information backing up all of those questions, then you probably landed or are on a real digital asset with real world utility. If you can, or if you say, hey, this team's not great, or there really isn't a use case, there isn't a utility, maybe you should be moving on from those, right? CBDCs are going to be built out, but they're going to be built out on ISO compliant blockchains, right? Or sidechains. So there's only 6 or 7 of those out right now. And you can go back in time and say, hey, what was out when they were testing all of this technology? Was this blockchain already out? Was that blockchain already out? You can really start narrowing down what technologies they're testing. And if you read between some of these lines, you can really narrow it down. Here's the final clip. We're about to get super conspiracy.
What? That's what's at stake today, John, because we're just moments away from what I believe will be the biggest crypto event of this decade. And there is nothing that can stop it. And that is what's so amazing about it.
This guy's, what do I got to
Well, I'll
buy?
tell you what's amazing is that right off the bat, you're starting with a big prediction about this upcoming event.
Here's the thing. I'm not gazing into my crystal ball about this, John. I want to be very clear about that. This event will happen. It is 100% guaranteed to take place.
But let me stop you right there, Tika.
Nothing is ever 100% guaranteed unless it's death and taxes. Everything else lives on it can happen, it might happen, but death and taxes and crazy family members are basically what is guaranteed in life. Everything else, it's a toss-up.
I know you met him, but how can you guarantee that something will happen?
It's a great question. A few years ago, again, I personally met this man who's about to flip the switch and trigger this panic. He's a crypto billionaire, one of the most important men in the crypto world. And developers who are involved in this project, they have confirmed this is happening by as early as the end of this month.
So this clip came out like several days ago. I played it in the last 2 Sensei chats. So he was talking about the end of March. Now we're in April. Nothing's happened, but it is Sunday. Banks are still closed. We did see a massive amount of banks updating to digital online banks, updating to ISO. And let me finish the clip and I'll talk some more.
That means they could flip the switch at any moment they choose. They're actually running the final test as we speak. John, this is the final test right before they pull that trigger. That means we could wake up tomorrow morning and read about it in the headlines.
Yeah, see, I knew this was going to be timely. I just knew it. So this panic that you're talking about could start as soon as tomorrow.
Exactly. And we only have one shot here because I'm not talking about a Bitcoin halving that happens every 4 years. If you miss a Bitcoin halving, it's not great, but at least 4 years later, you get another shot at it. I'm talking about an event that will only happen one time. Once they flip the switch.
Okay, so he's very valid in what his point is. What he's talking about is when banks on a massive scale start using the new ISO 20022 rich messaging data, and if they so choose to, could use a settlement token, or they could use something like XRP using ODL through Ripple, or they could use something through Stellar, or they could use something on Algorand, right? A stablecoin. So I get what he's talking about here, right? Because let's think about this as banks, right? As business people, right? We see things like this, right? Most US banks are technically near insolvency and hundreds are already fully insolvent, okay? So when you look at something like this, banks need money. They're broke, right? And then you have something called Nostro accounts. Nostro. Let me show you this real quick. If my internet could work. Okay, here you go, check this out. Nostro and Vostro are 2 different terms used to describe the same bank account. Terms are used when one bank has another bank's money on deposit, technically in relation to international trading and or other financial transactions. Both banks in the venture must record the amount of money being stored by one bank on behalf of the other bank. In terms of Nostro, Vostro are to differentiate between 2 sets of accounting records kept by each bank. Nostro and Vostro are variations of the Latin word, which means ours and yours, respectively. Modern retail banking is derived from the 13th and 14th century Italy, where both depositors and banks and ledgers of their account balances. So this goes back to the 13th and 14th century, where banks hold money for each other in different accounts, and that way they can settle at the end of each business day or night, right? Correspondent banking. If a payment is going from America to China, it might have to go through several correspondent banks along the way. That takes time, that takes money, right? Because every bank takes a little bit of piece. and it's just a shit system. So this new system where you can use digital assets, you no longer need Nostro Vostro accounts, right? You don't know that this money that's locked up around the world. I've seen numbers as low as 4 trillion, and I've seen numbers as high as 15 to 20 trillion. Nobody has the exact figure. Imagine all of that capital being able to be used by banks to not only give loans or help people or just stay solvent, right? Help with cash outs and different things, but banks need this money. So do you think, going back to the example of if you're a business and you're a bank and you have the ability now to send money instantly without Nostro Vostro accounts for up to 60% savings or more on your previous model, right? So I'll give you an example. When you use RippleNet, right, it doesn't use XRP. You can use RippleNet. You save about 30%. But when you're talking about ODL, on-demand liquidity, which sources liquidity from XRP, you can save 60%, and you can have consensus in 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, so banks, not only will they save money, but they'll make their customers happier, their business relationships better, and they can offer all these great services. Of course, banks are going to do this. And if you've been in my Sensei chat, the last one was open to the public, but let me show you this. I went through over 100 different examples of banks updating this weekend. Just look, here's the OCC Comptroller of Currency for the US, security, bank maintenance, system maintenance. You see what I'm saying? They're all updating this weekend. What is going on? Maybe it's time that we start using this new financial system. And if they do that, that's what I think people are talking about when they're talking about a flip of the switch moment, when people start using the technology and they don't go back. The old banking rails will run parallel until November 2025. That is the last time banks should be on this new system. But if you want to stay bank, right? If you want to have employees and you want to be able to continue, you're established, right? You were established 50 years ago or 5 years ago or 1 year ago, whatever it is. If you want to stay a bank, you need this technology to succeed. If you don't have this technology and your competitor does, you are done. You might as well call it quits right now. And as you see, all these banks may be insolvent. Denell Dixon has a good clip here. Hold on, let me just show you this, right? Hold on, check this out. Here.
A scapegoat for fundamental weaknesses in the existing financial infrastructure. So now is the time to go all in on real world utility.
Now is the time to go all in on real world utility. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Hope you learned something. Please share with somebody you know. I am not a financial advisor, just a crazy guy that loves crypto.